What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Severe MMA podcast, episode 540. I already restarted this podcast twice because I forgot to do the episode. I forgot to open up Google Chrome and everything else. So we're not doing it again. Sean Sheehan here, the pod god, joined today by the legend, the Wayne Gretzky of Irish MMA media, Ian O'Neill, as we talk about the crazy UFC 3-2-1. Graeme absent again for another week. Funny enough, Man United just won. Funnily enough, Liverpool just lost. Is it a coincidence, Ian, or is it, should we be reading more into it? I don't know.
As the great Eddie Bravo once said, look into it, bro.
Look into it, indeed. So yeah, it was. I don't know about you, but and maybe it's different because it was on box office here, but I felt UFC 3-2-1 was like probably the most down your throat promoted card in a long time, and that's I mean that now as a compliment and a very, very good thing. I think TNT Sports and the UFC and whoever else it was did a great job of promoting it, but it was also the UFC heavyweight title and a fight for me that I was massively looking forward to. I think a fight for most people that I think they were massively looking forward to seeing, Tom Aspinall being, truly anointed the undisputed heavyweight champ. I know he was given the belt after John Jones retired, but, it's always real kind of when you win it in competition. And we'll get on to what happened in a second here, but that build-up, Ian, it was... Do you know what? I think it really shows what the UFC can do and what we can do in MMA. People criticize the UFC and PFL and everything like that, and I think, rightly so a lot of the time, but I thought this week they did a great job, and, there was people that I would hear maybe from in terms of MMA once every 2 or 3 years who I got texts from and like, oh, what happened in the Aspinall fight? And even that big head kick knockout earlier on, then I just saw it and gave me a text about it. So I don't know what it was like over there. Was it like that too by you? And did you feel that kind of, I suppose, at home but online as well?
Yeah, I mean, the build up wise, yeah, definitely you feel, and that's what heavyweight title fights should be. Really, it's one of the most prestigious titles in the UFC, and even when it comes to boxing, it's a similar kind of scenario too as well. But what it was and what we spoke about there, previewing this fight, it was the two absolute best in the division going head to head, and that's what anybody wants to see, and I feel that there was an excitement and an anticipation here, in terms of buzz as it was going on. Started early over here, 8 a.m. start time for the card, midday, it's midday main card, so some people are working on Saturdays over here. A lot of people may be just going about their daily routine on a Saturday and not expecting this to be an early card. So I think obviously the hardcores are always going to be looking at it and everything like that. It's actually the baseball season over here as well, with the Blue Jays being in the World Series right now, which has taken up a lot of attention on the broadcasts and all the big channels over here, TSN, Sportsnet, etc. But that being said, I think there was a level of hype for this, and I think the UFC, I would agree with you, they did a fantastic job in building this fight to what it should be. They lived up to their end of the bargain, and obviously, as we're going to talk about as well, and as Mr. Dana White always says, they can't control what happens when the cage door closes, and unfortunately it was absolute disaster in this fight and how it unfolded.
Indeed it was. So let's get to it. And I suppose we were recording this literally minutes after the main event. We decided to record on Saturday, considering it was an early card, as Ian mentioned, and so we haven't heard the Dana White post-fight press conference or the Tom Aspinall or Cyril Gane when we have heard the interviews and obviously saw the fight. And if you're tuning in here to hear what happened in the fight, we get to what happened in the 35 minutes that the fight went. But in the last couple of seconds, there was in most of the fight kind of an exchange in the middle. Gane came forward and I poked Tom Aspinall. Straight away, I don't know, did it look that bad straight away? But then Aspinall, the way he reacted, you're like, oh God, I hope this isn't the bad one. But I still wasn't I still wasn't thinking, oh, this could end the fight or anything like that. Then they showed the replay, and I was like, oh, God, actually, the eye poke in Aspinall's left eye actually looks worse. I was like, oh, shit, maybe that will end the fight. But I was like, he was holding his right eye, and I was like, okay, so maybe that will be okay. But then they did a close-up of him, and, like, it was like the eye was flickering, and it looked pretty bad, and, like, immediately he said, I can't see. Now, I think Jason Herzog did a great job and go, hold on, take your time. You have a few more minutes. I think there was only like, 50, 60 seconds or something gone at that stage. He gave him time. He brought the doctor in. He gave him more time. I think in total, Aspinall, it was either 3 or 4 times he said he couldn't see. And if you're Jason Herzog in that position, Tom Aspinall has made the decision for you there, really. You've nothing but to do but to stop the fight, and the fight was stopped, and it was a no contest. I think everything that went down was 100% perfect. I think the way Herzog stopped it initially, the way he looked at it, the way he gave him the chance, the way he brought in the doctor, and the way he stopped it. I know when, we all kind of, when someone says, I can't see, you should probably stop it immediately, but I think it's a heavyweight title fight. You have 5 minutes to play with. Give Tom Aspinall his 5 minutes and let him see. Excuse the pun. He couldn't see, and the fight was stopped. What did you think of the whole situation, Ian? I know we'll get into maybe the intricacies of what happened before it, but from the moment he was eye poked, what was your take on it?
I was gutted because it looked pretty bad. I don't think it looked as bad as what you said until we saw the slow motion replay, but I knew that there was definitely a poke on both sides, because I had seen Cyril throughout the fight, and as you look to try and gauge distance and push your opponent away, the fingers wore out on a couple of occasions before the actual eye poke happened. And I was like, oh, that's a little bit, because he pushed his face away, I believe, once before the actual eye poke happened. I was like, oh, you're treading on dangerous waters there. And then obviously as the eye poke happened, it was a disaster. I was worried straight away. As soon as you see an eye poke, Sean, you're worried that the fight is going to be stopped. You hope that it's not as bad as what it seems. And, sometimes one of those scraping motions can be worse than, an actual, poke if you go knuckles deep. And, he got a bit of both, really, Tom Aspinall, with the poke in both eyes as well. So, I mean, my reaction was hope that this fight was not going to be stopped via no contest due to the poke, because, we were talking about the questions that we had about both of these guys coming into the contest, and unfortunately, we maybe have some half answers, maybe, but no definitive answers because of the accidental foul here. And I would have to agree with you as well in saying that, Herzog, the officials handled it perfectly as well, and they gave Tom Aspinall every chance to continue, and you cannot blame him at all for not wanting to continue, given what was at stake, and him defending his title and everything like that. So
yeah,
very disappointing.
Yeah, it is. I think that's the real emotion. Like before, and we've kind of broken down, I suppose, already the ref side of it and the official side of it. But again, you're right. Like, it's just so unfortunate. Like, I was so looking forward to this fight. Again, a lot of people were looking forward to the fight, but I think more people are kind of looking forward, to Tom Aspinall becoming the guy. And I kind of was too. And when it just doesn't happen, and now you have to kind of wait another 6 months or whatever it might be, it is really, really, really disheartening to see a fight end like that, especially again for a guy like Tom Aspinall, who, he waited for John Jones for so long. What was it, 13 months or something like that, or more even, between his last fight and this fight. We talked, ad nauseum, I talked about the amount of cage time that could really benefit him. He wasn't able to get that either, like 4 minutes 35 seconds again. Still, it's one of the longest fights of his career, but still not so long. So all of that is just a disappointment. And like the fight itself for Cyril Gane as well, it's very, very, very disappointing. It's a weird one, because I suppose a lot of things go through your head when something like that happens. Again, I think what you said is correct. The first thing that goes through your head is, please don't stop the fight. Although that didn't for me until I saw the first replay, because I didn't think it was that bad, but it was. And I think you make a good point as well. Like, the scraping can sometimes be worse than the actual poke. And like Tom said, like, he went like knuckle deep into my eye. He didn't on that side, but he did on the other side, I think, which is, I don't know. It was definitely a weird one, but I think you know the point you made there was what was true. But you're right, the way that fight is starting, we'll get into it. Like there's always going to be people out there who go, you know, he found an easy way out or something, and you know, some of us might say that joking, but I think other other people mean it. But yeah, it was just so unfortunate the way it happened. Let's get into the fight. Obviously, you know, as I said, we had 4 minutes 35 seconds. Which was enough, I think. Not enough, obviously. I wish I had fucking 24 minutes, 35 seconds, but it was enough to see kind of how the fight was going, I think, and to see where adjustments had to be made, if they could be made, and how the fight was going to be in rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5 if they went there. And I'll let you say how it goes first, because I think people might have an idea what I was going to say. As someone who, I think we had a good debate about it coming in. I don't think we were a million miles away in terms of what we thought might happen in the fight. Like, and I think for most people, like Aspinall early, Gane later, if he can pull it around, if he can stop the takedown, if Aspinall can get the takedown, he might win. But like very little of that actually happened. What way did you see it, and how would you analyze the fight directly after it here?
How I would immediately analyze the fight was, you know, based off what I thought was going to happen and the fight that Ciryl Gane was going to fight was, I felt that Ciryl Gane was going to play a little bit more with his striking on the outside. But what we seen straight up, Shawnee, was him come right across and get into Tom Aspinall's face and, you know, swarm the space maybe that Tom Aspinall thought he was going to have against a guy like Ciryl Gane. Like what we've seen Tom Aspinall do so well in previous fights is, you know, from that space, he finds the gap and he explodes into his shots. But you can't really do that when someone is right in front of you in the pocket. And I think Gane, that was an excellent read from Gane, and it made, I think it was causing Tom Aspinall a little bit of a conundrum early days here. The next great thing that I thought Ciryl Gane had was his speed, and the speed of his jab in particular, which he landed at will and busted up the nose of Tom Aspinall very well, you know, early stages here too. So, you know, those are two big conundrums that Tom Aspinall had to figure out early days. I guess we don't have the answers as to if he would have figured them out, but definitely in the way the fight was flowing, it was definitely flowing in the favor of Ciryl Gane and his game plan. Now, that being said, Tom did land some shots of his own as well. I think, you know, if I was to bring up some stats here, Shawnee, not that stats tell the true story of a fight here, 30 shots landed, 30 significant strikes landed by Ciryl Gane, and 27 significant strikes landed by Tom Aspinall. And that was every single shot that both of these guys threw. All counted as significant strikes, right? What is a significant strike? You know, whatever. It's very gray area when you're talking about that too. So in terms of strikes landed, you know, they were both throwing. They were both trying to set a very quick early pace in this fight. But that quick early pace seemed to be suiting Ciryl Gane a lot better than it was suiting Tom Aspinall. We saw one takedown attempt from Tom Aspinall. It was snuffed by Ciryl Gane. And, you know, it was a fight that was definitely going in Ciryl Gane's favor after the first 4 minutes and 35 seconds before the eye poke. So that would be my full assessment of what we did see.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. I think, and that's something we mentioned coming in as well, I think Aspinall struggled against the southpaw stance as well. Like I saw not Conor Rebush, Dan Tom talking about it actually. Yeah. And he was saying Tom Aspinall had only fought Tibura, who's a switch stance fighter, you know, not a straight up southpaw, and he struggled at times in that fight. And I think there was like a few clips going around of that fight where he's struggling in. But I agree with most of what you said there. Like what I suppose I would just add to it. I think the biggest issue for Aspinall in this fight is that he couldn't run the cadence of the fight, which he can in like every fight he's ever been in. Like Gane came out, as you said, and went forward straight away. Gane came out and he landed his jab straight away. Tom Aspinall found it very hard to land that right hand. I think the best shot that Aspinall landed was probably kind of a kick to the body that he landed at one stage. Aspinall went for a takedown, I think, on the, with the right hand lead out of the southpaw stance. I think it made it easier for Cyril Gane to actually defend that takedown as well. So in all those areas, I think Gane kind of had the upper hand on on Tom Aspinall. But at the same time, it was one of those fights where it was a Cyril Gane fight where he's not landing enough to be massively ahead, but if that fight had gone another 25 seconds, I think everyone would agree, unless something big happened, if it had gone the same way for the next 25 seconds, he would have won the round. And if the next round went that way, and on and on and on. I think
now, adjustments can be made in between rounds.
That's what I was just about to say.
And also, like with Gane's, like, for lack of a better term, point style, you know what I mean? Doesn't throw with any, great venom. If Tom Aspinall did find his range and started getting off some bigger shots maybe later in the fight, that might have made things a little bit more interesting. But in terms of, what my thoughts were, it was Tom Aspinall, I felt he would have gotten him out there in round 1 or round 2. I think that the way the fight was going, Shawnee, definitely would lead me down to the opinion that we were going in for a long old battle there, which a lot of people did want to see.
100%. And do you know what I wanted to see as well, to your point? I would have loved to have seen the adjustments Tom Aspinall could have made. Because, like, I don't know, maybe some people think I have a hatred towards Tom Aspinall or something, but, like, all I want to see is a guy like that, kind of prove what we think about him. And, like, it's easy thinking it, but then you have to go out and actually do it. And tonight would actually, if he'd lost that round and gone into the second round, and maybe a close second round, and then maybe knocked him out in the third, that would have proved to me so much more than other sorts of fights. Like, because that, it would have been just fucking absolutely unbelievable altogether. But we only have to go on, I suppose, what we saw. And I think it was, it would have been a clear, 10-9 up until that point for Cyril Gane. I think the most worrying part for Aspinall, as you mentioned earlier, was the speed. Like, if I put up, there was a video the UFC put up, and I put it up on SevereMMA about all of Tom Aspinall's finishes. And, like, he's just so much faster than everyone else. Like, he's such a better athlete. And it was actually about 2 minutes into the fight, I was thinking, God almighty, this might be, like, the greatest heavyweight athlete fight we've ever seen. Because, obviously, we've seen some great ones before, but the John Jones-Gane one obviously ended very, very quickly. Or maybe, like, an even fight. The Junior Dos Santos, Ken Velasquez ones, that one, the first one ended very early, and the rest of them, Ken Velasquez beat the absolute shit out of him basically for 4 rounds or whatever it went. So, like, this was just shaping up so nicely. But I think like, for the first, I said 90 seconds, 2 minutes, Cyril Gane had landed that beautiful jab straight away that reddened the nose of Aspinall. His nose started trickling, then him hit him with another one. He started bleeding profusely. But, like, it was like those kind of 2-3 shots early. I think, but by the time the next couple of minutes went and he stopped the takedown, and then he was getting his circling going, he kind of stopped another one with his movement. I think it was seriously kind of trending in the favor of Cyril Gane in the middle of that. Like, when Aspinall isn't fast enough to land his shots, couldn't get his takedowns, and we're bordering on going into round 2 of the fight. Again, that is all the questions we wanted answered were just about to get answered. And then this happens. Like, it's just so disappointing.
Such a heartbreak. I mean, I think, we've said it time and time again, Shawnee, that the main event of a fight card can make or break a fight card. And it really broke this one, to be honest. You know what I mean? The undercard was all right, but obviously all eyes were on this main event. And it's just such a pity as well. And look, we're talking about seeing adjustments. What we're going to see is those adjustments too. And they're going to be able to make those adjustments a lot longer than a minute sitting down on a stool as well. So, obviously the plan will have to be to put these guys together again in a couple of months when both of them are healthy. I felt bad for Gane. He came into this fight looking in phenomenal shape. And, the shape he looked in was definitely on show in this fight as well. Looked sharp, looked hungry. and looked really kind of eager to prove a point as well. It's kind of like, one thing that I always criticized Cyril Gane for was a lack of killer instinct, Shawty, and a lack of maybe wanting to go out there and finish guys. I think he had a level of that tonight.
Yes.
And that made me kind of excited. And it's disappointing that, we didn't see the final outcome and to see if he could get the job done. And, if we can get that killer instinct in a guy like Cyril Gane, I mean, my goodness, he is going to be a very, very, very dangerous fighter and a very tough fighter to get past. Even if Tom Aspinall, obviously that fight is going to happen again when he goes back in there and faces him again. I think the excitement and the anticipation levels for me are going to be even higher.
I wonder, and I agree with you, I think it should happen again. I wonder, is it a given that it will? Like, there's a lot of things, I suppose, a second. I suppose maybe if we had waited a couple of hours and heard the Dana White press conference, we might know more, but maybe we can have a look on the phone here in the background and say it later on. But I see a lot of people saying one of two things. They're saying, like, what's going to happen with Alex Pereira, John Jones? Could they move on to one of those lads? And does a guy who pokes another guy in the eye deserve a rematch? Which, like, are both fair enough points, to be honest. Now, I don't think anyone would argue that Cyril Gane meant it or anything like that, but when two fingers go in the eye, it's very hard to have sympathy for a guy like that. Although I do, like, I definitely have sympathy for him. I have sympathy for Tom Aspinall as well. There's no doubt about it. But here's an interesting. I put out a poll in. I said, who would win the rematch, Aspinall or Gane? Now, I reckon if that poll had been put out on last Thursday and said who win this fight, Aspinall and Gane, I reckon it probably would have been 95% Aspinall. Would you agree? I think at least.
I would. Yeah, I would at 90 to 95% for sure.
Still big enough. 73% Aspinall, 27% Gane. Not a couple of hundred votes in it, like, so it's pretty widespread of MMA fans. So, but again, that. I don't know, is that wide? I know, is that close enough for it to be an immediate rematch in terms of what the people want either? Like, people will still be coming out of this thinking that Tom Aspinall shit don't stink, like thinking he's the greatest heavyweight of all time. And you know what? Again, they might be right. If it had gone on another 30 seconds or 4 minutes or 10 minutes, we could have seen that. Maybe we'll see that in the rematch. But I like this. This is like do you know, they say we live in the world of post-truth now with all the politics and bullshit and all this. Like, I feel like people had decided on their truth. We saw the fight and they're still sticking to their guns, even though, like, because
they have something to cling on to there, isn't it? Because we haven't had the definitive outcome.
Exactly.
Here, but
I feel the exact same way about this fight now as I did coming into it. Like, it was going almost exactly how I thought it would go, to be honest. So that's what I just want to see it again. I want to see the end outcome of that. Like, what do you think?
Well, I definitely was surprised at how Gane approached this fight, and it would make me rethink how close this fight may be if both guys are to go in there and do it again. Would it change my opinion on thinking Tom Aspinall would win or not? I don't know. It's too early for me. I need to think about it a little bit more. I need to watch it back a little bit more, but it's definitely more of a, I would say, if I was thinking, I would maybe have had it 80-20% or maybe, 75-25. I'm thinking more of a 60-40 or 55-45 now, maybe in the favor of Tom Aspinall as well. And just on the point of that rematch as well, just following Aaron Bronstetter's update.
I was just about to read it. Go on.
Yeah, Dana White says that they are looking to rebook Gane and Aspinall as soon as possible, quoted by Dana White. So that's good. I think that's the right thing to do, Shawnee, here.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't agree more. And as I said, the other thing Aaron Bronstetter tweeted, gasp on the way to hospital to get the eye checked out. Dana White said it was a great showing for Gane and obviously a terrible ending. Thought the fight was headed for being a good fight based on what we saw. I think Dana White has that down. Yeah, I think that's 100%. And again, just to reiterate, the plan on rebooking the fight. So that's good. Do you know what? For the UFC, right? Is this a little bit of a blessing in disguise? Because, like, I don't think Jones is coming back, and maybe he is, but I don't know, is he coming back and immediately fighting for the title? I think if Jones was offered Alex Pereira now, I think he'd take it in a minute. I think they'd love that. after this for Tom Aspinall, you know, we watched that Volkov and Almeida fight. We'll talk about that a bit later on. It wasn't amazing. The guy who won it, Aspinall's already beaten him handily enough. There's no one else really coming, not to go full Daniel Cormier on it here again or anything. So this fight, to have it again, to have another 6 months or whatever it might be until this fight, you know, a little bit of a blessing in disguise. You have another big fight. I think most people, as you said there, like, I think most people, once they stop, think about it, rewatch the fight, I think they'd get more excited about it because you'll, like, okay, we're in a post-truth world, but sometimes the reality does sink in, and the reality of what happened was in that fight was Gane was doing a lot better than most of people think. And God, I want to see it again.
We did see a lot of reality in that fight. Like, I mean, there's no greater reality of actually seeing some live action there, and we did get to see it. Yeah. The only thing we didn't get to see is the outcome. So that's the only piece that's missing from this puzzle. So, you know, that'll happen in the rematch again. I think you're right in saying that the predicament that the UFC would have had in this fight, you know, if it had went 5 rounds and it was a close fight, you're doing the rematch, right? And that kind of solves the problem. But the heavyweight division is just not good enough. Yeah, like we need a supporting cast here in the heavyweight division inside the UFC to try and build challengers for Tom Aspinall. It's simply not there right now. Like you said, we'll talk about Volkov and Jailton and Almeida in a minute. They're just an awful fight, and like, you're talking about the number 2 guy in the division here. So, you know, I feel that we're going to probably see Tom Aspinall and Ciryl Gane 3, if not 4 times, you know, in total, including this fight as well. I think, you know, 2, if not 3 more times. If they go out and Gane wins, will they do the rematch? If it goes 5 rounds or it's a close fight, you know, you have to give the fans what they want to see. You know, I definitely want to see it. I would want to see a rematch. Let's just say, you know, Ciryl Gane went out and got the win tonight. I would want to see the rematch of that fight as well. So, you know, if we had seen the way the fight was progressing and Ciryl could maintain that throughout the fight, next thing Tom lands maybe a big one or catches a submission late, you still want to see the fight as well, because
100%.
You know, the only thing that really would have absolutely destroyed these 2 guys rematching is that if Tom Aspinall had went and blew him out of the water in round 1, and that didn't happen. So, I mean, here's where we're at right now, and it's going to be exciting to see when and where they will do that fight. But, you know, they've got the big Paramount deal now coming up as well, so it kind of lines up very nicely for that as well. And a couple of other big cards next year too. I'm sure, you know, they could look to do it in Vegas. They could look to do it in the UK. Could look to do it in France. What about that? That'd be pretty amazing with the big French crowd there. Yeah. So it'd be unfair on Tom to do it in France. I think to have to defend again. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do with it in a couple of months.
I don't know, would the French Federation allow it to happen though? They'd call it a
yeah.
Oh, we saw the first fight. This is a mismatch in terms of Ciryl Gane. You know, we have to throw it out there as Irish lads as well. There's still never been an English-born undisputed undisputed UFC champion that has been okay. An English-born fighter has never won an undisputed UFC title fight. So that goes. Is it mad? Aspinall didn't win a fight to become undisputed title champion. Was in an undisputed championship fight, didn't win that, and is still the undisputed champion. That's fucking crazy. That's the most MMA thing I've ever heard in my life. But as I say, we'll
the
move
TNT are going to have to do another road to the undisputed title.
That was one of the funniest things ever. And then he did an interview with Shaq where he was like, "Oh, we said that in one of the shows." But what did he say? Oh, I got a phone. Oh no, I heard about an Instagram or something like that. Didn't even get a phone call. Wrote undisputed. Absolutely hilarious. But before we get to the next fights, just a quick reminder. If you listen to this podcast, enjoying it, please go to patreon.com/SevereMMA podcast. Sign up. I'll have the Q&A with me every Tuesday-ish. Myself and Ian do the Chase and Back there every couple of weeks, talking about the Chase and Back, everything outside the UFC. And I am doing a new show every Friday, going back and watching title fights from down through the year. So there's 3 of them already up right now. So we'll have Randy Couture and Maurice Smith next week, I believe. So we'll
definitely want in on some of those title fights.
Oh,
as
let's fucking do it. Let's do it. I'm planning on doing like 10 in a row and like have 10 weeks work done straight away. So I can't wait to get
work smarter, not harder.
Yeah,
Johnny,
my only issue is some of those early days of fights. I think I might have got past them now, but there's like no rounds. There was a 21-minute round, and like one of the fights, there was like. I was like, oh, this is just 21 minutes. There's no round. And after 7 minutes, they got back up. And Big John McCarthy just separated him, gave him a break in the corner, and then restarted him again. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? But yeah, if you haven't signed up on Patreon, if you just like to support us, it's only a cup of coffee a month, five a month, not even a $5 a week or anything like that. You know, £1 a week-ish. So, yeah, patreon.com/SevereMMA podcast. You get the link in the bio here, wherever you're listening. Riley, let's talk about...
Have you got UFC, your talk, have you got UFC 5 yet? I think that's the longest title fight, isn't it? Ken Shamrock and Royce Gracie, wasn't it?
See, I'm going by division first. So I'm doing the heavyweight division first. So I did the first heavyweight fight. My memory is so bad, I can't remember something I did last week. But it was Mark Coleman... Mark Coleman and Maurice Smith was the second. Oh no, that was the first one. And then Tank Abbott and Maurice Smith. I've done 3. There was another one before that. Oh, Don Fry and Mark Coleman was the first one. So yeah, those are the 3 I've done. And I think next week is a Maurice Smith and Randy Couture. I'll tell you what. I always think of Tank Abbott as just, he's like a guy brought in off the bar stool, and he was fucking good. Tank Abbott, he could fight and he could defend the takedown a bit, like, as well and stuff. Tank Abbott, that was a good fight.
I always said Tank Abbott walked so Chuck Liddell could run.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Simple. Just good. He could keep the fight on the feet and land heavy. You know what I mean?
After watching, I was always like, I watched Tank Abbott fights before, but like, I don't know. I gained an extra appreciation, I think, because people think about. I think people respect Don Fry a little bit more and some other guys around in, like Ken Shamrock and Frank Shamrock and all those lads. I know Frank came a little bit later, but I think Tank Abbott deserves a little bit of respect as well. So that was a good fight. Right, back to the card. Let's talk about the Volkov Almeida fight, and then we'll get into the other title fight in a second. I absolutely love the judge's decision here. I think it was brilliant. I'm looking at MMA decisions here, and I think there's a few people who gave this to Almeida, and I think all of them are American, which tells a story, to be honest. Like, there's we need to get out of this fucking wrestling matters so much type of thing. I'll give massive credit to Daniel Cormier. I think 100%. He did a great job most of the night talking about judging. And why did he do it? Because Laura Sanko was sitting there alongside him. Laura knows as much as anyone about judging. She's a qualified judge herself. When we go on to those judging talks that go on for hours, she's there. She's sitting there on a fucking Tuesday when she could be doing anything else, and she's listening to them and gaining experience, and she's talking to people all the time. I was on the phone to her for a couple of hours one night just talking about judging non-stop. Like, she really puts it in, and I think she's really helped. The commentary was brilliant, and I think it was the best in a very, very long time since the last time DC wasn't there for the judging anyway. So that was very, very good. And I think they called this one right. The judges, Mike Bell gave it to Volkov. He gave it to Almeida, round 1 to Volkov, 2 and 3 to Almeida. Tony Weeks gave rounds 1 and 3 to Volkov, as did Clemens Werner. Great to see Clemens Werner again. You know, we heard people in the last week there saying there's no new officials in the last 20 years. Well, Clemens Werner now is in Nevada, and he's over here doing them, and he is very much not a new official to the people you know, who know anything about officials and know anything about, I suppose, what's been going on in the European side of it. But the worldwide audience, I suppose, Clemens has only had you know, these sort of fights for not very long at all, and he does an absolutely great job. Ian, I said in the middle of this fight, I tweeted out and go, why? And we talked about it last week. I think you made the point, like, why is Jailton Almeida not fighting at 205? Like, you to do this in the heavyweight division where a lad can land one shot, to your point earlier, land one shot and take a round, or land one shot and knock you out, it'll just nullify your 4 minutes of grappling or whatever. It's just not going to work as well at heavyweight, and I don't know why he hasn't moved back down. But this is a real case in point, wasn't it, for the limitations of Jailton Almeida's game. And fair play to Volkov for being smart and understanding how to win a fight against a guy like that, because I thought he did very, very well, even though Jailton dominated the position for long periods. This was a win for the scoring criteria, really, wasn't it?
Absolutely it was. And, you know, I was delighted to hear the results as well when they were read out, because you're always a little bit bit wary in fights like this. These are the way you want to see these kind of fights being judged. And limitations is one thing for Jailton Almeida, and the limitations in this fight for him came due to the grappling defense of Volkov, which you have to give credit to. But it also came, Shawnee, from an unwillingness to want to attack when you're in top as well, because we'd be lying if we said Jailton Almeida wasn't in a couple of positions where he could have postured up and landed a couple of strikes, and he just didn't. And that's what we've seen so many times before with him as well. And it's so frustrating to look at. It's so ugly to look at. It takes momentum out of the card. And, maybe, down at light heavyweight, he might have a little bit more success in those positions. Obviously, he's an absolutely elite level grappler. But, you have to get the fight down and you have to do something. You have to attack. You have to look to progress. And, I thought Mark Goddard did an absolutely brilliant job in reffing this fight as well. He split the fight up. He stood them up whenever it was necessary to do it. And it was frustrating that, once they stood up, that Volkov just kept getting taken down again. I'm like, I know if you sprawl, you might you're so tall, you might hit your legs off the cage, man. But at least try something. He was trying to throw knees up the middle, which is only going to help a guy like Jailton Almeida take the fight to where he wants it to be. But when he got there, I think wrist control was very important for Volkov. I think he landed a couple of strikes in round 3, which seen him get the win on the scorecards for me. Obviously, the reversal in round 1 where he switched it up and landed a couple of shots on top, completely just brushed over all of the work that Jailton Almeida had done since, obviously, the first 5 seconds the fight was down on the mat as well. So, look, I think there were some frustrations with Volkov's performance, but also you have to give him some level of credit as well that he nullified the attack and he found a way to win. And, in certain terms, he was lucky that we had very good, astute judges there to see the fight for what it was, because, on other occasions, we might not have got that result.
Yeah, I think sometimes and this is like a fundamental discussion about MMA, is MMA about fighting or is it about effective fighting? And this fight, you could argue that Almeida won the battle for, if this was just scored on martial arts technique or whatever, you could argue that Jailton Almeida won that. He controlled the fight. He decided where the fight was on. But our sport, the rules of it now are written so it's effective striking and effective grappling. And I'll be honest, I agree with that totally. And I think most people out there would. Nobody wants a fight where nothing happens. We want the fight. We want the person who is not just trying to fight, but the person who is effective in their ability to fight, being and effective in their ability to effectively grapple or land damaging shots. And just laying on someone is not effective grappling. It's just not. We have to get rid of that. Again, the commentary, I think they did a great job tonight talking about that through multiple fights. Just laying on top of someone or just laying on your back or wherever is just not good enough. And Volkov, I agree with you. All 3 judges gave him the first round, to your point, and in the 3rd round, I think Tony Weeks and Clemens Werner got it right. I think he landed enough shots before the takedown. Almeida did very little. And I did a little bit more in the 3rd. That's why I don't think it's a terrible card by Mike Bell altogether. But I think the right decision was Volkov, and he goes on. Unfortunately for him, I don't think he's getting the title fight next. But the fact that, Aspinall still has the belt, he's got to win now. And if he wins another one, then maybe he'll get a rematch. Or if they do the rematch, and Gane wins, then maybe he's in a perfect position to get next up. So
I'd give Volkov anti-Delia next.
That you know what, that makes a lot of sense, because Aspinall came out and said he wouldn't fight him this week.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to happen too. I want Tom Aspinall to be in that predicament a little bit, because I'm a little bit of an asshole.
That between that and Tom Aspinall's father just having a nightmare of a week altogether, this whole thing about, I want him to go off boxing, and then the way the fight happened, Jesus, must have been a stressful enough week for Tom Aspinall as well. But I don't think what happened in the fight will put the fans off much. But I saw a few people saying it Jesus Christ, could this week be going any worse for Tom Aspinall? And it's hard to guess that.
The boxing comments, I didn't get too caught up into it, but the boxing comments are
MMA fans just hate that, don't they? Like, there's nothing worse.
It's like you don't want to see that. The guy has 3 fights left on his contract, and he hasn't even defended the heavyweight title yet.
Yeah, and didn't.
So like let's let that happen before we start talking about anything. And even after it does happen, I don't want to see it anyway. And a penny for the UFC brasses thoughts and hearing comments like that as well. It's just, I don't know, man. Yeah, it's I'm really over this MMA boxing crossover at this stage. I just want to see champions in their division defending titles. Like let's get a couple of more Marab minded fighters in divisions that just want to fight and go on runs and create history in MMA. Obviously, look at the money side of things is a difficult one. Hopefully, with the new Paramount deal, we may see some changes in that too. I don't think we'll see too much changes, but hopefully we see some level of changes where these MMA guys get paid more and we can keep them in the sport.
It'd be interesting to see if that happens, but we'll know more in January, hopefully. Right, let's get to McKenzie Dern and Virna Jandiroba. And McKenzie Dern is the new UFC Strawweight Champion. Obviously, after Zhang Weili moved up, she'll be fighting for Shevchenko in a couple of weeks, up at 125. But the new champion is McKenzie Dern at 115. Just on the judges' cards first, Michael Bell had it for her 48-47, as did Chris Lee. Bell had 1, 4 and 5 for McKenzie Dern, where Chris Lee had 2, 4 and 5 for her. Sal D'Amato had it 49-46. He had the first round for Jandiroba, so he had 2, 3, 4 and 5 for McKenzie Dern. I had it the same way as him, I believe. I had it 49-46 anyway. I had the second round. Was it? I don't know. I can't remember. I wanted the first 2 rounds.
I think it was. I think it was. I had it first 2 rounds for Dern, third round for Virna Jandiroba, and then Dern as well, 49-46. Maybe you could argue round 3 for Virna Jandiroba. Maybe I did score round 3 for Jandiroba as well. I think I had it maybe even going into the 5th round. But I mean, the scorecards are a little bit different, but it was the type of fight, Johnny, that kind of was. You could see it going a couple of different ways. It was a really, really close one.
Yeah, it was. There was 3 split rounds in it. So the first 3 rounds were all split 10-9, 10-9, 9-10. The last 2 rounds were all unanimous, all 10-9 for McKenzie Dern. So you have to give her credit in that. She went down and she won the last 2 rounds and won herself the fight. The first 3 rounds and like the reason kind of I got mixed up there was like they all kind of looked alike a little bit, like they were all so close. I thought Dern did well at the stage in the first round, but then Jandiroba kind of came back and might have stolen it, and in the second round it was very even as well. Like I thought the one thing I would say about the commentary in this, I thought they were very kind to McKenzie Dern. Let's put it that way. In terms of what she was landing in the first, I think my guy Dan Tom again tweeted it, that no one gets as much credit for throwing shots that don't land as McKenzie Dern does now. I think Frank Yeager might have something to say about that one. If Graeme was, I had to do it for Graeme.
Poor Frankie catching strays, Johnny. Come on.
Here, I'm not the only man fucking throwing strays at him over the last couple of weeks. At least I didn't rob money from him. But allegedly. No, not allegedly. They didn't pay him his whole fucking thing and they didn't give him his fight. So yeah, it happened. But yeah. It was a good performance from McKenzie Dern. Look, she wasn't landing every shot, but I think she was landing enough. Like Virna's, the thing coming into this, and I was totally wrong. I thought Virna's jab might be the dominant force here, but it wasn't at all. I think McKenzie Dern, like old school kind of Johnny Hendricks tactics, hand fighting an awful lot, didn't let her jab didn't get going massively, but more importantly, she didn't let Virna Jandiroba's jab get going, and then she was throwing that right hand. And look, even if only 1 and 3 landed, they were still landing. Jandiroba, didn't look as powerful or isn't as powerful and wasn't controlling the fight. And when she took the fight to the ground, like, let's be real. The judges know what's going on the ground. You have a world champion jiu-jitsu player there against Jandiroba who's not doing a whole lot. Dern is throwing shots from the bottom and stuff and landing, especially in that 5th round. Also, I mistweeted as well, but I changed it. I initially said that Jandiroba had won the 5th round, but I immediately changed it. I was like, fuck, I just was like blue corner, red corner type of fuck. I blacked out for a minute, yeah. But look, it wasn't the most exciting fight in the world, but I think it actually was probably a better fight than we all think, because I think we were all kind of waiting for the heavyweight title fight and we weren't expecting a great fight out of it, which is a bit unfair to the two of them. But again, I think both performed pretty well. One last thing I'll say before I throw it over to you. I think I tweeted to the group, like, McKenzie Dern's not going to last at this pace, but fair fucking play to her. She was in unbelievable shape, and as I said, runs round 4 and round 5. Great credit to McKenzie Dern, and she deserves to be new champion after that, I think.
Yeah, a huge takeaway that I got from this fight is actually we're seeing the level of progression with McKenzie Dern here, and definitely with her striking as well. I think both corners did really well in guiding their fighters of what they needed to do in between rounds here, and both of them had similar enough strategies. And what it was volume. What they, and Jason Perillo in the corner, McKenzie Dern, was excellent, where, you can get really trapped into wanting to land that big punch. And McKenzie Dern was falling into that trap at certain times of this fight. But he was coming in and he was calming her down and he was guiding her to land volume. You don't have to kill the person in front of you with every shot. If you land, you will win. And that's what McKenzie Dern did. And I think, that kind of level of volume and not, what we've seen in previous fights with McKenzie Dern was probably a level of hesitancy to throw those shots. And when you're hesitant on the feet, you leave yourself wide open for those straight shots. It was something that I was kind of expecting to see in this fight, but we didn't see that hesitancy from McKenzie Dern. And I think Werner Jandiroba was kind of expecting to see that too. And I believe the fact that McKenzie was moving forward and was landing in volumes, and by landing in volumes, that's when you go on an attack, landing 3, 4, 5 punches, even if you miss a couple. You were saying she did miss a couple, but it's better to miss 2 and land 3 rather than just to throw 2 and miss 2. And I think that seemed to be the strategy for McKenzie Dern and her team. When it hit the mat, obviously, I felt, Werner Jandiroba, while she did well, always seemed to be in defense mode. And when you're in defense mode in your grappling exchanges, you're not going to come out on top of those exchanges, nor are you going to come out on top in the eyes of the judges in those exchanges as well. So I think, look, at an excellent performance from McKenzie Dern, a really cool moment with her daughter after the fact, great story. And she's progressing, and it's a new era in the strawweight division, and we'll see where it goes. A lot of people are saying that the quality might not be where it needs to be, but we've been very lucky over the last couple of years with the quality that we've seen in the women's strawweight division, and sometimes you have to allow a division to grow. I think McKenzie Dern is a good champion for the division, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of challengers will come her way, and if she can grow into the fighter that she believes she can be. She can really develop her striking. I think she'll be a fun, exciting fighter. She's tough as nails too. She can take a smack as well, Shawnee. So I guess maybe before we move on, Ronda Rousey's name has been in the news recently. Who do you think wins the fight, Shawnee? Ronda Rousey or McKenzie Dern?
I don't know. I think the problem, if this is at 125, I think they might be able to make it. But the fact it's at 115, I don't think Ronda's getting down there. But like I tweeted out a few weeks ago, if they did the UFC BJJ, McKenzie Dern versus Ronda Rousey, I think that could fucking make that whole thing. I think it'd be cool. But I don't know. I think McKenzie'd probably win on the feet now. I think she'd be dominant, but like size is definitely going to be an issue. But forget McKenzie. Didn't she miss weight a couple of times, or she struggled badly to make weight anyway a few times down through the years? And fair play to her for being able to make it constantly and do what she did. And just at one point you were making as well, like a big issue when you're someone like Jandiroba and you take your opponent down, and not every single time you do it, but like, how many takedowns? I don't know. Maybe she had 5, 6 takedowns in that fight. I would say a good maybe 4 or 5 of those, let's say there were 6, they actually turned out to be an advantage to Dern. So like you might be losing on the feet, you go for a takedown, and then you're losing on the ground again, even though you got into the quote unquote dominant position. That's a very tough place to find yourself. Like you are changing things up. To her credit, she did try to change it up, and it just didn't work for her. So she kept going, but the longer the fight went, I think it told.
Yeah, it was like, funny enough, I would have had similar worries about Dern's cardio, but towards the end of the fight in rounds 4, rounds 5, it just seemed that Jandiroba didn't really have enough to push forward and to make it happen. And I think that was the ultimate differential in the winner of this fight, to be honest.
100%. Umar Nurmagomedov versus Mario Bautista. Then again, 30-27 across the board. But I think it was a closer fight than there was Ben Carnage, Chris Lee, and Jacob Montalvo. Closer fight than that would have said. I think the middle round was very close. Bautista knocked Nurmagomedov down early. Then Umar kind of got on top for a long while, landed a few slots. Schlott? No, I remember that guy. Remember when he used to be a good manager. But they both kind of landed shots late. I know a few people have said, the late shots took the round for Nurmagomedov. I kind of thought the late shots might have took the round for Bautista, so that's how close of a round it was, really. After that big knockdown early, Umar did a good bit. He landed one lovely shot, and I did think he rocked him a little bit. So, look, the judges are up close, and they see the damage better than us. But Bautista... The only issue I would have with Bautista, and it's a big issue, but he got taken down very early. And in a fight like that, you almost have to set your stall out that I'm not going to get taken down, and then fight from that position. When you're fighting from the position of you've been taken down early, you got dominated in the first round, now you have to fight your way back against someone like Umar Nurmagomedov. Like your point about Jandiroba, she needed to push it in the last 2 rounds. If you're pushing it and you're fighting a wrestler, you're going to open yourself up a little bit more, especially to, like, I can just imagine that room where those lads train. Like, it must be just stinking of sweat, first of all, because the amount that them lads, like, credit to them, the amount that they put into it and the amount that they can keep going and just pull lads down and never, the confidence they have, it's unbelievable, isn't it?
But also, Shawnee, it's like, obviously he did get taken down, but got a nasty toehold locked in, you know, on Umar as well. Yeah. And to feed into your point of what that room is like, you could see Umar, you know, that was nasty and that was deep, and he was limping on that ankle, and that hurt him deeply. But that guy has been in that position many times before, and what you didn't see there was a level of panic. I think a lot of other fighters maybe in that position, if you're not Nurmagomedov, or if you're not an elite level grappler, you might panic and you may tap out in that position, but not Nurmagomedov. And you could see, I think DC kind of described the defense in it, where you're rolling into the angles, you're rolling into the momentum that's trying to be created to get that torque on the ankle there. And I think, you know, he did very well to kind of reverse his way out of it. And
I think Bautista moved it as well, because it looked like it was going to be a heel hook first, and like the ankle, but then he moved it to a toe hold where he was like fucking jacking that foot up like old school fucking Paul Redmond, like. Unbelievable. That looked tight.
I thought Bautista was going to be going around wearing the chain of Umar's foot like Valor Walker was after the fight, the way it was twisting around. Indeed. It was mad.
Indeed.
But I think that sequence there, I think, told the story of the fight, where it was just Umar is just a little bit better, but Bautista was very competitive. And I think he proved he can be competitive in the upper echelons of the division there. And he'll learn and he'll grow from that fight as well. It's just, you know, in fights like that elite level standard that you talked about, being in the room with elite level fighters and pushing yourself to the absolute limit, that's what won Umar Nurmagomedov that fight. You know, even though it was a 30-27, I would agree with you 100% that the scorecards didn't really tell the story, and Bautista was very competitive throughout, but not good enough in the end.
Yeah, and what's weird, right? You see a guy get taken down kind of multiple times in a round, and I don't know if you agree with this or not, but it kind of made me want to see the Merab fight more, like against Bautista. Now, we'll talk about Merab and Umar in a second, but like, Merab doesn't have the dominating top game that Nurmagomedov has. Like, he's more take it down, let you up, take it down. Like, I think that actually kind of not plays into the game of Bautista, but gives Bautista a lot of chances, because his cardio is off the fucking chain altogether. It's unbelievable. And his game as fuck, as you kind of mentioned. It's a pity this fight had to happen. Like, they couldn't have just lined both of these lads up and have them both fight, because like
it'd be an interesting 5-round fight. Yeah, you know.
Definitely, but do you think, obviously Pereira is to fight Merab next, let's say he comes through that one, and we're not writing off Pereira by any means, do you think Umar is going to be next? And another thing I'll put you as well is, what is that, Merab's 4th fight this year? Like, Umar might have to wait a good bit, and we know Ramadan will be coming up then, like if it's around that time of the year, they might have to line someone else up, and he mightn't get till this time next year to fight him. Like, bad timing maybe here, isn't it, for Umar to get that rematch, considering what Merab has just been doing?
Yeah, it's bad timing, and it's all really down to obviously the result of the Merab and Jan fight in December, and then how much of a break that Merab wants to take, because he's going to have to take a break. Because if you look at the history, like, he's already pushing boundaries here, fighting 4 times in 1 year, defending his title 4 times in 1 year. He'll create history by doing that in modern mixed martial arts. I feel, he'll probably want to take a break. Other thought I have is that, after creating history, will he want to go and try and create more history? Will he want to move up to the featherweight division maybe and take on Volkanovski or whoever made the champion be at that time? He definitely would deserve that opportunity, I feel. I've said at the start of this year, I don't want to see that happening as much, but I think when you're being as active as Merab is, you deserve the right to have that opportunity if you really want it. And I'm not sure if he wants to give Nurmagomedov that opportunity. A lot of bad blood between those guys. And he has the power in his hands to make or break. But like, that doesn't mean that Umar wouldn't fight for some level of a title, whether it be an interim, whether Merab would vacate the title and move up. Be very interesting to see. I'd be very, very surprised if I didn't see Umar Nurmagomedov with a UFC title around his waist at some stage of his career.
Definitely. The other thing that could happen is Pantoja could move up and fight Merab, because he's another guy, who'd probably deserve a super fight, because like, he's taken out so many contenders as well. So you do, and Volkanovski, I know he's only had the title back for a little while, but like, he beat a lot of those guys there already. Obviously he was champion, and the fact that Topuria has gone away as well. So there's kind of 3 lads there, and I don't think any of us are advocating for moving up, because I like lads fighting in the division, and definitely got too much bump. When lads have that many title defenses, we could see it. But right, let's run through the rest of the card. There was a smashing knockout for Amazad Murzakanov against Alexander Rakic. Like, I picked Murzakanov coming in. I thought it might take a little bit longer. I thought that Rakic might be able to keep him at the end of his jab for a while and then get more defensive, but he wasn't at all, and he just got caught in the middle of the first round. Salkilld, one of the most insane head kick knockouts we've ever seen. Thank God Nazar Hakparas got up after that, because I was a little bit scared after that. I'm going to be honest with you, and that was fucking insane. Talk us through those 2 knockouts. They were both nice ones, weren't they?
Very good knockouts. I think it was the type of knockout. I think we spoke about Murzakanov, Shawnee, in the preview show this week, and I talked about his explosive power being the difference in this fight. And I thought when he would find his range, that's when the danger is going to happen for Alexander Rakic. And like you, I did think it would take a little bit longer. I had him to win by knockout in the second round. It happened in the first, and it happened with a fucking step-in jab as well, which just really showcased the level of power that this guy has. He's the boogeyman now in the 205 division, and it's very exciting to see. He needs a good jump up and a number 1 contendership fight next for me. He called for it after the fight. Let's throw him up in there and let's see what's happening. There's lots of exciting fights. I don't know whether do you put him in there with maybe a Khalil Roundtree? Do you put him in there with a Yuri Prochazka?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yuri
I think
Prochazka.
that's
yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah, Yuri Prochazka is the one. Like, I mean, it'll be a phenomenal fight, and he's an exciting fighter, undefeated, and fresh beat in the 205 pound division. I'm here for it, and obviously the Quillian Skidad knockout was ferocious. I mean, just landed that kick with inch perfection, and it was a scary knockout when you just seen Nazar Hashpras just fall face down. The only thing you are thinking in those moments are, I hope he's okay. I think he has been cleared in the hospital. Obviously, he got up and he was escorted out, but he has been cleared in the hospital now, as per Dana White. That's good. But with a knockout like that, man, that's a career-changing knockout, and maybe some questions have to start being asked at this stage for Nazar Hashpras. But Quillian Skidad did 10-1 now.
Unreal.
Exciting prospect. If he can go out and do that most of his fights, I think we have another exciting prospect in the 155 pound division. Maybe you could give him. I was going to say you could give him Ludwig Klein, but obviously Klein had his own share. Good luck and bad luck as well.
He did. There was a few bad ankle injuries. I'd like to apologise as well to Nazar Hakparas. I had an accumulator with 4 guys, and the first 3 won, and he was the last one. So that head kick knockout's not on him. It's on me. It's my fault. Ludwig Klein apparently broke his ankle in What did he say? Round 1? I had the commentary off because I was watching the Man United match.
Round 3. So the
round
way
3,
the fight kind of was played out, I think he started round 1 very well, very sharp on the feet. I mean, looking at this fight, Johnny, like looking at Ludwig Klein in full flow, he's like the technique that he has. He reminds me of Edson Barbosa, the way he throws his shot. It's like no wasted movement, no wasted space, really crisp striking. And he was getting off some beautiful shots and like hurting Rebecca on multiple occasions, wobbling him on the feet. And like on route to a fairly comfortable one-sided win, if I do say so myself. Then comes round 3. I believe it was in a takedown exchange where he kind of fell awkwardly on his ankle. And then, you know, I think he tried to get back up to his feet. And when he got back up to his feet, then, you know, kind of noticed that something wasn't right and fell back down again. Obviously, Rebecca kind of, smelled some blood, tried to land some damage. And yeah, I feel, you know, he kind of dominated the round 3 as well. But it's strange to see a guy sitting down on the stool with his hands raised, and to say that, you know, that he broke his ankle in round 3 and still went on to win the fight shows the level of durability that he has. And I think you have to give him good credit. There was a little bit of controversy over these cards. It was read as a majority win for Ludwig Klein. Ben Cartledge scored this fight for Ludwig
28-27 here, I'm saying. Yeah, he's got a 10-8 for Klein in round 2 and a 10-8 for Becky in round 3. So did Tony Weeks, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think that was necessarily bad, though, was it? I think they were both kind of borderline enough.
Yeah, there was more of a confusion over that, I believe. And that's why I wanted to read out the cards as well. I think, you know, Ben and Tony got it spot on there as well. And Chris Lee, you know, scored a 29-28 to Ludwig Klein as well. So, like, but that also makes me think, oh yeah, that's because Tony Weeks scored it in 28-28. So yeah, that's why you made it a majority one. So I was missing that one myself. I just figured that one on the spot there folks.
Yeah, they all agreed. All of them had Klein win 1 and 2, and all of them had Rebecca winning round 3. The only different ones was Tony Weeks had a 10-9 in round 2, and Ben Cartledge had a 10-8. So if Ben Cartledge had a 10-9, it would have been a majority draw. It would have been 28-28, 28-28, 29-28. So that would have been a draw. So, yeah, I think, you know, I was watching without the sound and all, but I think the right guy won in fairness.
Big time, yeah. And like, I mean, to justify the 10-8 in round 2 there, like I said, Ludwig Klein rattled Rebecca multiple times and had him wobbling all over the place as well. And, you know, he had him on skates for the majority of that round too. So,
100%.
Yeah, good stuff.
We'll run through the rest of the card pretty quickly here. No need to talk too much about Walter Walker. We go back and listen to the last podcast we did talking about him. Took his opponent down, jumped on the leg, and he hooked him. And Louis Sutherland is just another victim, 4 in a row. Let's see how far up, and let's see how long he can go with this. I try him with Hamdi after Hamdi won against Chris Barnett. Let's make that fight and let's see how it goes. The opening 2 fights of the night, Mitch Rapozon, Azat Maxim went to a unanimous decision, and for the first time in a long time, Amarim actually lost. So Mizuki Inoue gets to win in the first round. To me, the fight of the night was...
I said when Amarim is fighting, Johnny, I was like, it's not seeing Amarim getting battered on the Saturday or something.
We're not using it. Fight of the night, that was, I think, definitely Nathaniel Wood against Jose Delgado. And what a comeback by Wood. Delgado knocked him down nearly, finished him in the first round. And Nathaniel Wood came back to win rounds 2 and 3 in the unanimous decision. One thing I will say about this fight as well, I know there was a small bit of controversy over the decision. I think the judges got it right. For Nathaniel Wood, I think at whatever time it was, let's say 3.5 minutes into round 1, I think that was trending towards a 10-8. And then he came in and he knocked down Delgado, and I think he rescued it. If he didn't do that, this would have been a draw and he wouldn't have won this fight. So credit to Nathaniel Wood for going in there and getting it done like this. I'm seeing, you know, a lot of people in them made decisions. Only me and Danny Segura had it for Wood. Everyone else had it for Delgado, but I think me and Danny are right. This is one of those fights as well. It was the obvious round win for Delgado, and the 2 close rounds went for Nathaniel Wood. Like, so you could 30-27 is possible here, but I think 29-28, a little bit like the Paul Hughes fight the last time. Well, apart from the fifth was definitely obvious, but we'll
apart from the headbutt and the 5 kicks in the balls as well.
Oh God! I'll say no more about that.
We're still not over it, folks.
We're still not over it. Come here. We're nearly out of time here, so we're going to do a preview show as well during the week, as we always do, and look ahead to next week. But two things I want to mention before we move on. News that broke this week: Patchy Mix failed the drugs test over in France for his fight with Nurmagomedov, which is and it was like 18 months ago or something like that. So the French Federation basically came out and said he failed the test, and we're making it not the fight a no contest, and the fight is now going to be a loss. Then the ABC said, and Mike Mazzulli was reached out to comment by, I believe, David Martin MMA Fighting, and he said it's the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard. It was for marijuana. We tested him and he was all good, all fine. That win stands. So and then Topology came out and said something that they're leaving the win, but they're like putting it in black and white, so it's a win, but he failed the drugs test. Weird. I haven't actually seen what Sherdog are doing yet. I'm not part of those conversations, and I'm glad I'm not, to be honest, because it is a tough one. But I don't know, it's all a bit weird, isn't it? And especially when like one federation are saying one thing, another federation are saying another, and then like the kind of the scorekeepers are kind of in the middle of all this as well. What was your take on the whole Patchy Mix thing?
Just a mess, and look, at with all due respect, not too surprising that the start of it came from the French Federation of Mixed Martial Arts, to be honest, because we've seen a couple of these kind of decisions.
I like them.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't give a fuck.
I mean, for weed, it's like you're creating a stir over. Not. I think for me, what I'm thinking about, and obviously with the recent announcement of Conor McGregor's suspension, is Shawnee, I'd love to know is what's taken so long for these decisions to be actually made. It's a long time in between this and that, and a long time before. Obviously, maybe there could be deliberations, there could be appeals that are going on in the background and stuff like that. But maybe you have an answer for that. But I feel that we probably should be drawing these conclusions a little bit closer than we are when it comes to these kind of things.
My answer for it is just what you said there. Like, there is a lot of appeals and back and forth and red tape and all. The question I'd love to ask as well is, like, how many of these have happened and we've heard nothing about them? Because I don't know. Anyone in the know knows that there are a couple out there, that people have failed tests or whatever, and they were up on certain websites, and then it was never announced, and people went off and fought elsewhere, and Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, everything's gone away and all grand. So I don't know, to be honest. Like, USADA coming into the UFC was not one of the biggest disasters, because ESPN and the whole the UFC sale in general. I think we need to probably do a podcast and look back how big of a disaster that was for the sport in general. It was great for the UFC, and well, I was going to say it was great for the Fertitas. Probably wasn't great for the Fertitas considering how it went after that. Great for Ari Emanuel and great for the Money Boys. But I think USADA, the Reebok deal back then, so many other things that happened around then have just been so bad for it. But yeah, look, I think sometimes we can look at this like, why is it taking a year? Why is it taking 18 months? I think just because there's so much fighting and red tape and people appealing and appeals, and yeah, that's when the McGregor thing came out and said, like, look at the Tom Lawler one. It took like 2 years, and by the time it was all finished, he got back from his suspension, and then the UFC got rid of him. It was like, what? And it was Osterine that he fell for, that one that was like found in meat all over the place, and he tiny little bits of it, and yet his whole fucking career was ruined because of it. And again, as you said, marijuana. I don't use it myself, but it's not exactly fucking performance enhancing, is it? Like, it's a load of bullshit. Now, having said that, I don't really know where I stand on all of this. Like, the French Federation are the ones who oversee the fight. If they want to change this result, I kind of don't think it's up to the scorekeepers or the record keepers to make that decision. I think they made the decision put it in the records like they made it. Like, what can we do? Now the ABC did oversee it as well. Like, who is the actual governing body there? Like, I know Mike Mazzulli took charge of the testing and all of that. I suppose there is enough of a grey area to like not know what to do really. So I suppose I don't know.
Gives a good explanation as to why it took so long to come out as well. Where you probably have the French Federation against the ABC Commission as well, that are probably going over and back as to what the final outcome could be. But yeah, it's really strange situation.
And another strange situation that happened this week was a former opponent of Patchy Mink's, James Gallagher, who was due to fight at ACA, isn't it, on Friday. So I tuned in to watch it. I looked at the list of fights, and it was supposed to be like 4th fight up. Got 3 fights in and tweeted out James Gallagher fight next, and 2 other lads come out. Then Capoza's like, oh, the fight was called off. I'm like, oh, fuck. And then he goes, oh, actually, no, they've moved it to the main event of the prelims, and there was a new poster came out. So I'm like, okay, grand. Waited main event of the prelims. I think it was Brad, the former UFC flyweight, who was in the corner of Nathaniel Wood tonight, Pickett, on commentary. And he's like, that's the end of the prelims, onto the main card. And I was like, hold on, what's after happening here? And then one main card fight happened. I was like, I'm turning this off. And next thing, James Gallagher's prospective opponent came out, and he said that James Gallagher didn't like the warm-up area, so he refused to fight, and the fight wouldn't be happening. Now, I tweeted that out, and I goes, I'd love to know what James has to say. James released a statement saying that he would be releasing a statement. That second statement, so what he said was, statement coming out soon. I'm a professional fighter and fight under professional conditions. I will not be caught cold, getting put into circumstance to affect my performance, and treated and spoken to how I was. Now, the statement, the big long statement, hasn't come yet, but when this happened, I knew straight away. Like, I've been around James Gallagher an awful lot during fight weeks and stuff. I don't know if I've ever seen someone as, people can say what they want about James Gallagher, one of the most professional people you'd ever see on a fight week. Always very respectful. Like, he's not a guy that really like gets nervous and things like that. I'm sure he does it in bits and pieces, but he's always a guy who's there. He looked in great shape as well, looked prepared, and something must have gone badly wrong for this to happen. James Gallagher's not one of those guys. Like, James Gallagher's got into fights against Patchy Mix and very, very good guys, and, you know, lost fights, came back and fought again. James Gallagher's without a shadow of a doubt one of those guys who'll go in and have a fight. I don't think this is a case of like, oh, you know, I'm backing out of a fight or anything like this. Something must happen. I'm looking forward to seeing that statement come out. What was your take on that? It was crazy, wasn't it? I mean, you were probably at work at the time, were you?
I was at work, and I know I was looking at your messages saying, "Oh, you should be up next," and I was like, "Okay, maybe I can try and throw it on." And there was nothing happening. I was so confused as to what was happening until the actual news came. But yeah, I'm a similar thought as you. You know, I thought it must have been an injury in the warm up or something very, very serious for James not to make that walk out there as well. So I'm sure when the statement does come out, it'll be a justified decision. And you know, my thoughts on it would be, I just love for James Gallagher to get himself in with a promotion where stuff like this doesn't happen, because he deserves that after everything he's been through. I'd love to see him come. Let's get him into the UFC. To hell with it, and let's match it up with a couple of fun fights in there. You know, because it's a shame that he has to wait around and is on the sidelines. You know, at this stage of his career, we've done a couple of interviews with him on the Owl Triangle. Has always been very courteous with his time, very professional, always shows up, always on time, always gives great interviews. And yeah, it would have to be something very, very drastic for him to make a decision like this as well. So hopefully, you know, we'll obviously hear what he has to say very soon. Next steps, I'd hope that, you know, we have lots of options here. An Octagon.
I think Octagon would be a great place for him.
I think so too. The Octagon are running a fantastic promotion there as well. So, you know, we have the big Will Fleury fight coming up as well against Martin Buday. It was just announced week as well. You know, you sign up James Gallagher, you can have him, Dennis Frimpong, a little bit of an Irish contingent on that card as well to kind of support Will, bring an Irish audience over there for that card too. And you know, that's what I truly think is I want James Gallagher to be in a promotion you know, that will kind of meet his needs and meet his skill set and meet his professionalism. And I hope it happens. Maybe this was the eye opener for him.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully we'll see James back sooner than later. But for now, that is all we have today. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. I probably should have said at the start as well, we're on video today, so everything went well now, so we're definitely on video. This will hopefully be uploaded. So yeah, check that out over on YouTube. And if you are, again, watching this or listening to it on our free platforms, this has been out in early access on Saturday night over on Patreon, so you'll get that every week. It's out up to 12 hours or so before it's out for free everywhere. So patreon.com/SevereMMA podcast. I have a wedding coming up, so I need to pay for it, so please sign up. I need it. I need your money. Please give me your money. All right, we'll leave it there. Ian's fucking flights home to Ireland to pay for as well, so yeah, come on.
If you want to throw some money my direction, Johnny, for the flights, I'll take it. I'll take it as well.
I can't afford the petrol to get down to the fucking the venue, so that's the right, lads. We leave it there.
I'll finish you with an inspirational quote, Johnny.
Go on. Oh yeah.
Glory, glory, Man United.
Beautiful.
Glory, glory, Man United.
Lovely.
Glory, glory, Man United. And the Reds go marching.
On.
On.
Good luck, lads. Up Brentford.